Hi viewers, and welcome to the channel, and welcome to the Understanding FreeCAD series, and we're going to be looking at revolves. We're going to be looking at solid revolves such as this one and understanding how to use the different axes, both sketch, geometry and reference axes, to create such revolves. We're also going to be removing and angling the revolves to create different shapes. After that, we're going to be looking at revolves that have a void in the middle. So we're going to learn how to create something like this just by sketching the outside profile and then using something called an offset to create the inside profile. This makes it a lot quicker to create these types of sketches. We'll be moving on to something a bit different to allow us to create reference revolves. So these are revolves that reference to other parts of the geometry. We're also going to be looking at how to create those revolves that attach to pads and pockets like you see here. Finally, we're going to go a bit left field and look how to easily create such an object as this by use of multi-geometry revolves. So I hope you've been enjoying the series, I hope you've been enjoying the channel, and let's have a look at these techniques. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe to the site. I also have a Ko-Fi or a coffee site that you can donate to if you so desire, and that's at ko-fi.com/MANG0. I also run a Patreon where you can subscribe and get extra content, and that's at www.patreon.com/MangoJellySolutions. Any money that's kindly donated will be used to expand the channel. So for this tutorial, I'm creating a new document, come over to the part design, because we're going to be doing the revolves in the part design, and create a body and create a sketch. We're looking along the XZ plane. I'm going to create a very simple pulley wheel in here. Now, if you think about the profile of a pulley wheel, if you divide it into four, we're looking at dividing it into four because we're going to be rotating around the center point. The center point for this rotation, what we're going to start with is going to be this vertical axis. So we're going to create a profile, a quarter profile, which basically if you look at a pulley wheel, it's more or less an F. So we'll go across here, down, and create the F. I'm just going to do this roughly. I'm not going to worry about fully constraining this, but I'm making sure that I go across this line. Now I've got the auto constraints on, so the auto constraints, and I may get a redundant constraint. There we go, got redundant constraint on here. The reason why is because we've got point on line constraint, we've got a coincident constraint, and we've got this constraint here. So click to select and delete, and that's better there. Let's put some vertical and horizontal constraints in here. So I need a vertical here. This one's got vertical, this one hasn't. Come in here, control select that. Selected 2, vertical and horizontal on this one. Need a vertical on that one as well. So remember, you can multi-select to place the same constraint against multiple items. Horizontal on that one. So basically we've got the quarter profile. If I was looking at this and revolving this, this would become a pulley wheel. So I hit close. What we have is a closed sketch. So sketch is fully closed. It's not opened in any way. We're all constrained all the way through, and it's a closed sketch. Now this is an additive feature. So if I go to the model, make sure the sketch is selected, come up to the part design, create an additive feature. I've got the revolve there, or I can select the yellow revolve on here. Yellow is always additive. So we've got our pulley wheel, as simple as that. But it goes a bit deeper because we need to understand the axes. At the moment, this is being revolved around the axis of the vertical sketch axis, which, if I come into my normal screen, hit OK, can't view, and that's go down to the toggle axis cross. Can't actually get my axis cross. So we've got our axis cross. You can see how that object sits on top of there. So look at the sketch and the axis cross is there. What happens if we move this away from that axis cross? So the main axis of the scene. Click on the point on the line constraint, hit delete, and what we're going to do is move this line over We're going to have to remove it from here as well. So we've got a coincident constraint on here. Hit delete. This will probably open the sketch up. And let's move these across. Good time to demonstrate that when you've got an open sketch, hit close, this is going into error. So you can see we've got a problem there. So double click that, bring those back together. Coincident constraint, make sure this has got horizontal constraints, vertical on that one. So we've got this now, this sketch. Hit close, we've got a hole going through here now, and that's because there's our axis cross, and if we look at the revolution, we've revolved around the vertical sketch axis. So why do we have a hole? Well, if we go to this sketch itself, we've moved it away from the vertical sketch axis. So this now revolves around this vertical sketch axis. We're still the same axis as the scene. But if we go back to where we was before, click on this point and this line and connect them together, hit close, we're now back to where we was before. Let's change the position of this sketch. Come down to the attachment, come down to the position, and we'll change the axis. So let's click on the sketch, bring it back. You can see how that's revolved, so that F there, it's made that revolve around there. Click on the sketch and we'll move it along the x-axis, so we're moving out. Press the spacebar. See, that's moved. So it's moved with that sketch. And that's because our revolve is around the vertical sketch axis. So our sketch, this is the vertical sketch axis. Because this is attached to the axis, we just changed the position of the sketch. Still attached to that axis. Let's change this to the base z-axis. Look what's happened. Now we've revolved around this axis. So the vertical sketch axis goes through here, and now revolved around this axis here. Still takes into account where the sketch is, it's just moved the rotation point. So this sketch, for instance, if we go into the sketch again, so we can see that in there, sketch there. Click the sketch, this time change the angle. And we'll make it something like that. See it there. Then we get this kind of effect. So we're changing the profile. Of course, we've revolved around there, which is the center of origin. Click on sketch, double click it. Still see we've got the vertical sketch axis there. And how that sits compared to the center of origin. Let's come back to the revolve, double click it, and change it to the vertical sketch axis. And there we go. So it's taking it around that axis now. And horizontal sketch axis, it will take it around there. Base X, base Y, and base Z. So you get an idea how the attachment position of your sketch, and whether you're changing the axis to the sketch itself or the axis to the scene itself, if they differ in position of that sketch, you'll get a different effect. Now what happens if we want a hollow object? So let's get rid of that sketch and revolve, delete those out. We'll leave the cross there, we'll leave that available, and we'll create a sketch. Again, we'll do it along the XZ plane and hit OK. So let's create something like a vase or something, or a lampshade. Click on front, and we'll add some curvature in here, like so. And what we're going to do is just connect that up to the center delete that, bring these two, whatever methods you desire when you're doing sketching, and make those coincident together. Add a little bit of detail. So let's take a circle, connect it to here, and use the trim tool. Hit close. We've got the sketch now, this sketch here. Click on the sketch, hit revolve. We've got this revolution. But how do we hollow this out? Well, we can come in to the original sketch and create a skin in here by tracing or copying this. So we've got a line here, a circle, a curve, line, and removing some of this. So literally we've got, take away that, hit delete, and if I get rid of this point, hit delete, bring this out, and for quickness I'm going to use a polyline, and I'm just going to do something like this. This is obviously what you won't do, and bring these together, hit escape, hit close. Then that is hollow inside, but we've got those jagged edges in there. But there's an easier way of doing this. If you have a complex sketch like this, just leave the line that you want. So I'm just going to leave something like this. Notice the constraints. Hit close. This is in arrow now. So I'm going to get rid of the revolve. Come over to the part, click the sketch, come up to the part, come down to the 2D offset. Let's create a 2D offset there. Change the mode to skin. We'll get a skin in there. And we can change these to wherever we want. So I'm going to send this inwards a bit, hit OK. Click on the 2D offset, come over to the draft workbench, and then come up to modification and draft to sketch. We created another sketch here, which is this 2D offset, so you can see that in there. So now we can just merge these together. Hit close, click this sketch, come over to the sketcher, click this sketch, click the other sketch, come up to the sketch, click merge sketches, and those are merged together now. So we've got this one here. If we double click that, we have our merge sketch. We can now get rid of the other sketches, control select them, hit delete, pull the merge sketch into the body, double click the sketch and close this. So we can add alterations to there, and we'll add a closed surface there, geometry there, and closed geometry there. Hit close. Now we've got that sketch there. We can come back over to the part design and then use a revolve. And we've revolved that with space inside there. Let's hit OK and go back to where it was before. You can see we've still got the drafting plane on there. This comes from the drafting, so we just remove that. So go to the draft, and we'll come over to this icon here, the snap lock. Open that up and you'll see this waffle here, the toggle draft grid, and we can get rid of that. So now when we come back to the part design, that's gone now. That normally happens if you go into something like the arc workbench or the draft workbench for the first time. You'll get that grid come up. So we've created this body here. We can change this whenever we want. We can come into the revolve, double click the sketch, and you can see this point isn't open because it lays upon this center. So we can move this out if we so desire, and that'll create a hole in the bottom there. So we have our revolve there. And the more we add to this, so the more detail, let's say we add another circle like here and here. Again, use the trim. So we're adding detail to our feature. Hit close. Then you can see that's added across there, like so. All the time remembering where the center is. So we created this sketch upon the center of our scene. So the sketch center or the sketch vertical axis is going to be the same as our scene vertical axis. Let's look at something a bit different now. So let's look at reference. So let's clear those out. And this time I'm going to create a body and create a sketch. Let's go along the top this time, the XY plane. I'm going to create a surface just with a standard square. Hit close, and what we'll do, we'll pad that surface up like so. Hit OK. I'm now going to create a profile on this surface. I'm going to click on the surface and create a profile on there. Now I'm going to create something basically along here. So I'm going to create a square. And I'm going to put some circles on the square. Let's put them on the outside. Not worried about position, this is just for demonstration. And we're going to trim these. So trim that one and trim that out. Trim and trim. Hit close. So let's bring that sketch up a bit so we can see it. So line width, let's bring the line width up. So we've got that sketch upon that surface there. That's sitting there. We can use that sketch as a revolve on this surface. Because it's attached to that surface, click on the sketch, use the revolve. See how that's revolved through there? And we can do 180 degrees. Like so. And it's revolved over the vertical sketch axis. But we can change this to revolve it around different axes. So let's come down to the reference, select reference. Now I'm going to select this edge here as the reference. You can see what's happened. It's now revolved around that as the center point. So the revolve axis now goes around this edge. So it's attached itself to here and it's revolved around there. Let's just hit reverse. Send it the other way. You can see how that's revolved around there. We also got symmetrical plane. So that's actually revolved it around the plane, so it's symmetrical to that plane. So if the plane is going this way from the reference, page edge 7, then it's revolved around that to be symmetrical to there. So if I take that off, you can see what's happened there. So remember that we can actually connect these up to other pads and pockets or other features like this. So you can actually create features that extend out from your model. So I can set this to something like 90 degrees. And if I wanted to, I could add another sketch on here and create a rotation there. It's all one feature. If I hit OK, then the whole revolve is this feature here. The same with datum geometry. So we've got these datum lines, datum planes, etc. there. We can use those. So for instance, if I add a datum line in, you can see that datum line is there and we can attach it to something. So this at the moment is going through not attached to anything. So we can select, say, select in this line. So it's laying across that line, or we could select this point and control click the vertex on the other point there. Let's actually get rid of these. So let's clear these out first. So reference 1 is going to be this point here. And reference 2 is going to be this point here. So we've got that line going across there. we can use that as our revolve surface. Our sketch is a bit odd angle from this, but it will still work. Let's double click that revolve, drop this down, select reference, and I select this line. You can see that's actually revolved around that line. Let's send this that way. That's it. So it's not reversed. And increase this, and you can see how that revolves around there, like so. So we can get some interesting effects with dotted lines, edges, etc. So one last example is multiple revolves. So if we're in the part design and we create a new body and a new sketch in there, go along the XY plane, hit OK. Let's create something in here. So I'm going to go for a circle. Place a circle in here. And we place another one concentric to it, like so. Hit close, and we'll use a pad on that. And we're going to pad around about 5 mil. So we've got this circle here. I'm going to place a sketch upon this face, attach a sketch to it. New sketch. We're going to come in and place a circle here. Attach it to this line. We've got the auto constraints on, and we're going to also attach another circle round about here, one over here, one in the middle, and one here, like so. So we've got these 5 circles here. I'm just going to click on them all and set diameter, and this is where we can select multiple constraints in there. Just select yes and set the diameter to all of them, say about 9mm there. So they've got quality going through them all. So we're going to move this one just in a bit, and we'll just move them and put them into space. Not worried about constraining, this is just for demonstration. So if I close that, we have these sketches running across the top of this object. So you can see them there. So the sketch is there. We'll just up the view of that so we can actually see them in here. So we come down to the line color, line width, and just bring that up a bit. So you can see them sitting on there. Now we can actually revolve these. So we click on that sketch. If we revolve that using the revolve, we can see the object's disappeared. That means that we can't revolve around the current axis that's being selected, so the vertical sketch axis. Now if you think about it, the sketch was here and the vertical sketch axis is running this way. Well, we need the horizontal sketch axis. And there you go. So those have revolved around that axis there. So we can make quite some interesting shapes just by using the revolve. Hit OK. And we've got our shape there. Please experiment and try those out and see if you can come up with some new ones. So I hope you found that lesson useful. Hope you enjoyed the series, and I'll see you again soon. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe to the site. I also have a Ko-Fi or a coffee site that you can donate to if you so desire, and that's at ko-fi.com/MANG0. I also run a Patreon where you can subscribe and get extra content, and that's at www.patreon.com/MangoJellySolutions. Any money that's kindly donated will be used to expand the channel. Thanks a lot for watching and subscribing, and I'll see you again soon.